Hey everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I have my September wrap up for you guys. So I haven't been very active on here. I'm sorry. School is just a lot. Doing online classes, especially having 4 English classes, 4 literature classes, and 1 religion class. Like, it's a lot of reading, and so as what always happens, my reading for fun tends to go down during the semester, which is fine. It's not a big deal, and I'm used to it by now. So be prepared for much less videos throughout these next couple of months. But I did manage to finish 4 books in the month of September, so I'm going to talk about them. So the first one I finished is a new favorite, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have heard so many good things about this book, and I managed to find it for sale at a used bookstore for $2. And I was like, yes, gonna buy it. So I managed to read it, and I fell in love with it. The biggest problem I had is just that I need to reread it, because the way that the story is told is very disjointed in a lot of ways. You're hopping around from time, you're hopping within time and you're hopping within points of view. You get a more overview of a lot of characters, and you have to kind of piece together what's happening. But I thought it was really well done, and I need to reread it to get the story even more. So if you don't know, this follows 2 main characters, Celia and Marco, and they are both engaged in this battle of magic. So there's 2 different kind of schools of magic, if you will, from these 2 men in their lives, and they each choose a student, and they are now in a competition of magic abilities. And so the problem is that both Celia and Marco don't really understand this competition. They're just told you're in this competition and you'll know when you lose. And that's kind of it. So it's frustrating for them as it is for us readers, because we don't know what the competition entails exactly. But it then follows this circus that comes, and the circus travels around in Europe, or it just travels around everywhere. And it's there without warning. It just appears suddenly in a place, and they stay for a little while, and then they just disappear, and nobody really understands how this is happening. But the circus is full of tents with all sorts of different illusions, and people with abilities, and people just these tents are so cool. And so there's kind of an underground community that forms around the circus, and so you just follow the story of the circus and these 2 main characters, but also the lives of everybody impacted by the circus. And it's so well done and just beautiful and just magical. It's very atmospheric, which is a word I've heard a lot of people use with this book, but I think it's really true. This book truly, it just brings you to this magic circus, and it's just so amazing. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't read The Night Circus, please do. It's incredible. Next up, I finished A Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. I don't even know how to describe this book. Well, I'll read this review on here because that kind of explains it. It says, an intriguing amalgam of personal memoir, philosophical speculation, natural lore, cultural history, and art criticism, from Los Angeles Times. So this is just kind of talking about being lost and the different ways that we are lost, both physical and metaphorical. I think I just wasn't in the right headspace to read this book, honestly. I started it this summer and then put it down, and then just was like, I'm gonna finish this, so I finished it. But I didn't love it. The first half, I think, made the most sense, and then I just found it getting repetitive, and maybe because, again, I wasn't in the right headspace for this kind of book, but I didn't really love it, but I did finish it. Then I read Rebel Queen by Michelle Morin. So this book I've had for forever. Must have had this book for 2 years at least. And it's just been sitting on my shelf, so I decided I should read it. So it's historical fiction, and it's about India in the 1850s. I wrote this down so that I wouldn't forget. It's India in the 1850s, when Britain is trying to take over the country of India, or the different kingdoms that made up the country of what became India. So you follow a main character named Sita, and she becomes part of the Queen's Royal Guard. So the Queen has this group of women warriors who are her not personal assistants. They're more her like bodyguard and like her just like personal team of warriors. So it's Queen Lakshmi, I think is how you say it. And so you just follow Sita as she like grows up and trains to be selected for the queen, and then you follow her as she's part of just like palace life and with Britain like trying to take over the country. I feel like I struggled with this book too, and again, maybe it was because I'm not in the right headspace for historical fiction. I really haven't been in the last like couple of years. I know I have like a ton of historical fiction that I want to read, but I just like haven't been in the right headspace for it. I've been more into like fantasy and sci-fi recently. But I think the problem with this one is that it took too long to get to where Britain was like trying to take over and all that like political things. And also like Sita doesn't really understand a lot of the political like intrigue stuff that's going on. She's a very naive, like, village girl, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but it just means that she's very naive when she gets to the palace, and so there's, like, a couple people who, like, end up taking advantage of her just because she doesn't think that people would actually do that, whereas, like, I've read enough, like, court intrigue things to know that, like, people are going to be, like, backstabbing you and, like, constantly looking for ways to undermine you and your position if you're getting too close to the royal person who you want to be close to. So I feel like it just like took a little bit too long to get to the place where things were actually happening. I mean, it was well written and like very easy to understand. So, and it's something that I have not really learned that much about. So I think if you're looking for like historical fiction about India and about Britain's colonization, then like this is a good book. But I just didn't really, it just didn't jive with me very well. And then the last book that I read was a reread of a favorite, and that is A Reaper at the Gates by Sabitzer here. So I annotated this copy this time around and finished up the Penguin Teen read-along that they were hosting for the Ember books. This one I remembered very little about just because I think I'd only read it like twice before. So there was a lot in there that I had completely forgotten about. And it makes me very nervous for Sky Beyond Storm. I'm like, I really want my characters to be okay at the end of it. I'm really excited for the way that Laia and Helene end up at the end of this one. I'm very interested to see how that ends up going in the fourth book. I think it could be really cool. And I need a way to get Elias out. I just need to save him. So I really hope that that happens too. But yeah, I enjoyed this book so much. I still think Ember is my favorite out of the trilogy so far, but it's an Emberverse book, so I'm not going to dislike it. And I think too, again with this one, I was noticing like Helene constantly thinks that she has outsmarted the Commandant and then acts like overconfident because of that, and then gets like crushed because the Commandant always has something new planned. So I feel like that's, again, in this book, like, Helene, I didn't really like her character because she just was constantly like, oh, I figured out the Commandant's plan and we're gonna move now. And the Commandant, like, is way smarter and it, like, just wins a lot of the time because of Helene's, like, arrogance in a lot of ways. And Helene, like, constantly underestimates the Commandant's ability and overestimates her own abilities. So, not that I enjoy what happens to Helene in this book, but I think it was kind of necessary, and I'm excited to see where her character goes in the fourth book just because I think she can be built up into like a really different person than she has been. Laia's story, on the other hand, again, completely forgot about so much of this book, especially Laia's story for some reason. I love her relationship with Darin and like the fact that they are willing to do whatever they need to do to be with each other, but also that she still is going to call him out and be like, you need to be helping us at this point. Like, we can't sit and be quiet anymore, and you have this knowledge of weapons that we need, and so you need to, like, help us. So, her and Musa was also pretty interesting. Their relationship was really funny, and I appreciate their, like, banter back and forth. And him teasing her about Elias was also really great. And then Elias, oh my baby, I am so nervous for Sky because of the thing that happens in this book. and I just hope that he ends up being okay. But I'm very excited for Sky Beyond the Storm, so if you haven't read the Ember series, please get to it. It's incredible. I can never say enough good things about it. So yeah, those are the only books that I read in the month of September. Comment down below, let me know what you guys read last month, or if you have any video ideas. I just haven't really been inspired to make videos recently because I've been dealing with school, and you know, it's kind of stressful living at school when COVID is happening, just because kind of like I don't want to get moved to the COVID housing that they have set up because it just seems very stressful and I don't want to do that. So there just hasn't been a lot of creativity in this area of my life in the last month. But if you have ideas for videos that you want to see from me, please let me know. I would love to, or just talk in general in the comments below. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links will be in the description as always. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!